Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Sorry, I keep bumping the desk with my knee, so it's shaka shaka shaka. So I don't really know how this video is gonna go. I don't. And reason being is because I never got the chance to film the first part of this video. So this is gonna kind of be a two-parter, but all in one. So I'm just gonna film all of it. So I've mentioned it in a couple of my videos. By the time I upload this video, the events that I'm talking about will have long since been passed, at least by several weeks. And I kind of want it that way, so that way, if anybody is going to say anything about it, I have a couple of weeks to kind of come to terms with it and be okay with it before I just put it out there for, everybody to see. So today I don't look great. I don't really have any makeup on. My hair needs to be washed. I just sprayed some dry shampoo in it and called it good because I can't take a shower when my son is awake, who is actually sitting next to me eating cheese balls. So if you hear the crunching, that's him next to me. So let's just jump right into it, I guess. I'm going to apologize in advance because this is probably going to have a lot of editing because I'm probably going to cry. And I don't want you guys to have to see the bulk of that. So about a week ago from today, a little over a week ago from the day I'm filming this video, we took in a dog. And it's a bit of a unique situation because it wasn't like we went to an animal shelter or we got him off a complete stranger or he wandered up and we took him in off the street. His name was Harley. And he was a chow, a full-blooded chow chow, and 13 years old. And Harley was actually my dad's dog. So way, 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 way back, 12, 13 years ago, my dad took Harley in as a puppy. He got him from, I think he got him from a breeder, but I'm not 100% sure because I wasn't there when all that went down. That was during a time frame when my dad and I weren't speaking, which I will probably talk about in later videos. But so he has had Harley since he was a puppy. And a couple of years ago, this past year, my stepmom and my dad divorced, but they had been separated for a while before that. So it'd been about 2 years since my dad had not seen Harley because my dad moved out and for a short time came and lived with my husband and I, and then he went to Michigan for a little while, and then he moved back and he got himself a rental. Unfortunately, because Harley was a chow, the rental that he was able to get would not allow him on the property because chows are sometimes put on the aggressive dog breed list. So Harley stayed with my stepmom. Well, in those 2 years, my stepmom, started dating somebody else and was going back and forth from Tennessee to Michigan and back and back and back and back and back. So my stepbrother and his girlfriend and daughter were living with her. Were living with her with Harley. So Harley stayed in the same house the whole time. Well, not the whole time. Like they did move from one state to another, and then I think they moved again. But he stayed with them, and then in the last 2 years, he stayed in the same house. He just had different owners. So it was my dad, and then it was my stepmom, and then she moved and had spent more time away than she did present. So he was with my stepbrother. And a little over a week ago, my dad messaged me, letting me know that Harley had been hurt. Or at least that was what everybody thought had happened. So they thought that he must have fallen down the stairs or, somehow he had gotten hurt. But nobody knew exactly what had happened because they weren't there or they didn't see it. He just all of a sudden was limping and walking weird. And so my husband and I knew right out the gate that they weren't going to be able to take care of him the way he needed to be taken care of. And so we offered to take him. And they agreed, and my husband picked Harley up that night and brought him home. Harley was, like I said, 13 years old, and which is quite old for a dog. Chows typically live between 9 and 15 years, so he was in the higher end of that range. And so we took him in and we kind of assessed the situation, and I called the vet first thing in the morning because by the time he got to us, it was too late to call a vet. Um, so I called the vet first thing in the morning and was able to get him an appointment for that day. So we got him, and the very next day he was at the vet. So, he was struggling to walk a little bit. His back legs were a little janky. He had like this kind of weird swaying walk with his back legs. But overall, he didn't seem too terrible. It seemed like maybe he had tweaked something or, possibly had a fracture or a pulled muscle or something. It didn't seem that bad. So we took him to the vet, or Sean took him to the vet, and I stayed home with our dogs and the baby. And the vet said, basically, based on what she had looked at, doing x-rays and stuff, she thought that he had, well, she knew, based on the x-rays, that he had severe arthritis in both of his hips, and that could be accounting for some of the weird walking. Was just that he was in pain. He was walking in a way that didn't hurt as much. We got his nails trimmed because they were a little long, so that was also possibly contributing to his weird walking. She also heavily suspected that he was suffering from some neurological issues. So with all of that in mind, after the vet visit, she prescribed him a medication to take twice a day, and basically we would kind of see what happened. After nearly a week on that medicine, it didn't seem to really be helping, and he was only taking it twice a day, and by the time, middle of the day rolled around, he was not having any pain management anymore. The first pill had worn off, and I didn't want to give him his second pill so soon because he often had to go potty at night. So I wanted to make sure that when he was going outside and pottying, he had that pain management going on, to make it a little easier for him to go. And so I called and let her know that, hey, it doesn't seem like this is working. He seems like he might actually be getting worse. He was starting to struggle a little harder to use his back legs. We were starting to have to help, like, lift his back end, and he would just use his front paws, and we would kind of lift his back end so he didn't have any pressure put on it. And it just seemed like he was starting to get worse. So she decided that it was probably for the best, that we were going to go ahead and we were going to add in another pill. So she prescribed another pill, and I went and I picked up the prescription for it because it was a human medicine. So I went and I picked up the prescription for it and dropped it off at our pharmacy. And that weekend, because it was a Friday that I'd called and got the prescription written, so we picked up the prescription Saturday morning because I had a prior engagement, so I was not able to pick the prescription up that night, which was not a super big deal because we weren't going to give it to him that night anyway. We were going to wait and do it in the morning and do the one pill, then the new one, and then the other pill, and hopefully that would give him pain management throughout the day. So we did that, and she had told me to give it a try and call us back Monday, basically give it the weekend and see how things are going. And this is the point in the video that you are going to want to skip ahead, because it's going to get really upsetting. If you are very easily upset, then I would probably go ahead and skip ahead or just stop watching the video. I'll try to put in like a time frame of when you can, skip ahead to. So over the weekend, we were giving him the medication, and he was still getting worse. Now he was barely eating and barely drinking. And he started having trouble using the bathroom appropriately. He was losing control of his bowels. Because his legs were not working, he would often go and then fall backwards into it. So we had to give him a bath, and I was constantly having to clean his back end because he was falling into his, stuff. And then it just kept getting worse. And so he, sorry, TMI, I guess, but he started having really bad diarrhea. And we thought maybe it was the new medication was causing those issues. And but we also didn't want to stop giving it to him because we couldn't get a hold of the vet because it was weekend, and we did end up calling the vet in the next town over because they were open 24 hours. And so we did call them and asked, is it okay to be giving him both of these pills? So, like I said, he started having really bad diarrhea, and I had never, ever seen it this bad in my life. I've owned several dogs, and I've never seen it this bad before. Like, straight liquid. Sorry, again. But, and it started out in the middle of the night. He woke us up because he needed to go, which was somewhat normal. He had several other times woken us up at 1, 2, 3 in the morning because he needed to go potty. It was kind of something we understood as being an older dog. He might not have been able to hold it all night like ours did. So he woke us up in the middle of the night, and we hurried up and we took him outside, and it became we took him outside because I couldn't do it alone. Because he needed to be guided with a leash because he wouldn't walk otherwise. He didn't know where to go. So he had to be led with a leash, but also his back end needed to be lifted. So what we'd started doing, we would put a towel underneath him and pull it back as far as possible to lift him right up at the hips with the towel. So it became we would take him. He usually would wake me up, and then I would wake Sean up, and then we'd go ahead and we'd get up and we'd take him out. And it was that night, that weekend night, that we saw for the first time the really bad pottying. And we took him back inside afterwards, and we were like, okay, well, that's not good. And so we went back to bed and woke up in the morning, early morning, because he was whining. So we woke up early morning to see that he had done it all over the floor in the bedroom. And we weren't mad at him. So let me get that right out the gate right now. We were not angry. We did not yell at him. We did not punish him. We knew it was an accident. We knew it wasn't his fault. So we got him outside, got the other dogs out of the bedroom so that nobody would step in it. So we got him outside, and then Sean took over, and I went back inside and I cleaned it up. And it was like that for the rest of the day. He had several accidents in the house because he wasn't getting. I don't think that he was getting enough notice that it was going to happen. And so he couldn't tell us he needed to go because he didn't know he needed to go until it was too late. So he had several more accidents in the house. We did manage to make it outside a couple times, but several more accidents in the house, and we cleaned it up, cleaned him up, gave him a bath. And we decided it was probably for the best that he no longer go down the stairs because he was struggling so badly. So there was no other way for us to get him outside, because out the front door is several steps, and out the side door is 2/3 steps. It's like a really small baby last step. But we decided it was probably for the best that he no longer used the stairs. And I had already kind of tried to teach him to use like a puppy pad in the house, but he was such a good boy, he didn't want to go in the house because he knew he wasn't supposed to. So no matter how many times I told him that it was okay, and I took him to the potty pad, and he just wouldn't do it. So we actually set up the porch as a little puppy pad for him with his food and water, and we put out, I had some incontinence pads from back when we had guinea pigs. I used to line their cage with that, and then put the hay and stuff in it. So I had those, like, rewashable ones. So we laid those out there for him so he had somewhere to go. Although the whole porch is concrete, so we had decided that was going to be the best place for him, because he could be outside, which is what he wanted. He loved laying out in the sun. 9 times out of 10, he'd ask us to go outside just so he could be outside and lay in the sun. It wasn't even that he needed to go. He just wanted to be out there. So we took a baby gate to block off the stairs so he didn't accidentally fall or try to go down the stairs and get hurt. And we set up the puppy pads and food and water, and we tried to give him a toy, but he didn't want it. And then it ended up getting accidented all over. So it got thrown out into the yard and hosed off, where I'm pretty sure it still sits. And we put him out there, and he really enjoyed it. He liked being out there, and it was a place that if he had an accident, we could easily just hose it off, and it was fine. And I would go out there several times a day and hang out with him. Like when Nathan would go down for his nap, I'd go out and I'd hang out with him. Or like if Sean was home, he'd stay in with our dogs, and then like I'd go sit outside. I'd bring a chair and I'd go sit out there with him, and I'd just talk to him or read or whatever. I'd do, work, sit on my phone, whatever. I'd just hang out with him. And we offered several times a day for him to come inside, and he refused multiple times. And we did not make him sleep out there. That's the other thing. Like we made him come inside at night. And so that was one day, and then the next day we did the same thing. But we had been woken up early in the morning at about 3:30 in the morning with another accident. We ended up having to put him out on the porch at like 4 o'clock in the morning. And it was cool, but it wasn't cold by any sense of the word. And we did lay out extra blankets. I knew that there was a distinct possibility he would have an accident all over them, but I'd rather him have the blankets to lay on instead of the cold concrete, because even though it was just cool outside, the concrete was pretty cold, and I didn't want him to be laying on that. So we did lay out blankets for him, and we made sure he had plenty of food and water, and we went back to sleep. And then first thing in the morning, I went back out and I checked on him, and he had thrown up and had an accident. So I took the blankets and I threw them out into the yard, got the porch cleaned up, and hung out with him for a while. And it was like every time we would say, well, why don't we go ahead and bring him in? We'd go out there and he would have had an accident. So there was no really rhyme or reason to it. It wasn't like a consistent thing. Like sometimes he would go hours without it, and then other times he would have 2 accidents within an hour. And so it was on that day, it was a Sunday, that we decided that it would be best if Harley was put down. I was trying to think of a nicer way to say it, but so I'm trying really hard not to cry. He was in such bad shape. He could barely walk, and he was starting to have issues with his front paws. He couldn't keep his grip on any surface, and he was having his issues with going potty, and he was not eating. Even things that he loved, he was not eating. I offered him a hamburger, I offered him a chicken nugget, I offered him a hot dog, and he wouldn't eat them. So we knew it was over. He won't eat, he won't drink, he can't go to the bathroom on his own, he can't get up and down the stairs. This is not a life for a dog. So Monday morning, Sean called the vet. And asked them about their euthanasia services. So, I called and asked them about their services, and we kind of discussed it, and we could have taken him to the vet, but we decided that we didn't want to do that because he was in a lot of pain and couldn't get around on his own, so we would have to literally pick him up and put him in the car, and this particular vet has COVID-19 protocols, and you're not allowed to go in the vet with your dog or cat or animal. They will come out to your car and get them from you. And I was worried that even being something so dramatic as a euthanasia appointment, that I was worried they wouldn't let me be with him. But they actually offered home euthanasia. And Monday morning, he called the vet, and Monday afternoon they came out to the house. And of course I told my dad about it because it's my dad's dog. So my dad got out of work early to come out here, and my brother and his girlfriend came out here, and my stepbrother asked if I would video chat him so that he could say goodbye to Harley. And while we were waiting for the vet to get here, Harley had 2 accidents in the house. And we all knew it was not okay because it was like straight blood. And he had deteriorated so much in such a short amount of time. Literally a week before we took him in, he was running. He was running a week before we took him, and 2 weeks later, he's shitting blood. And he wanted to be out in the grass, and so Sean carried him down there into the front yard so he could lay in the grass and in the sun. And it was so fucking hot. But that's where he wanted to be, so we all sat out in the hot sun with him. The vet got there a little after 2:30 or so. And it's actually the vet that sees Spot and Loretta, so we kind of know each other. We just have never met face to face because of the COVID rules. So they got there, and they were kind of prepping things, and Harley was having an accident right out on the lawn. I say accident, I mean he was going to the bathroom outside, but it was an accident because he wasn't meaning to. He had no control over it. And seeing all of that and the way he was acting, she said that it actually looked like he was suffering from cancer. But that had not been something that they thought, so they didn't bother to check for it. Not that I don't think there was anything that could have been done. I think by the time we got him, he was already going, and we just didn't know it. I mean, we knew that it was a possibility when we got him that he wasn't going to last long, but we had wanted to do what we could, and we'd been talking about getting him harnesses, like lift harnesses and wheelchair. And I even reached out to a company that helps you get a loaner wheelchair, and so they match you with one and send it to you, and then when you no longer need it, you send it back so that it can be refurbished and sent out to someone else who needs it. And so I had reached out to see if we could scrounge together some sort of money to get him a wheelchair, but cancer, they think. And so we sat out on the lawn together, and I hugged on him, and I kissed on him, and I told him how good of a boy he was, and that he was so loved, and that it was okay to let go, and they injected him with I don't really know what it was, a syringe full of stuff to make him go to sleep. And it just made him really sleepy, and he just laid down and he just took a nap. And we were all bawling at that point. And that wasn't even the actual euthanasia. That was just literally putting him to sleep, like knocking him out so he wouldn't feel anything. And we hugged on him, and then he started getting sleepy, and he just kind of laid down and flopped over, and just like he normally would, and he just went to sleep. And then they did the actual euthanasia after several minutes to make sure that he was really out. And it happened so fast. I wasn't really I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know if it was like an instant or if it was gonna take like 10 minutes. And I was holding him, and I literally just felt him stop breathing. I felt his heart stop beating. And then he was just gone. Yeah. And even like the vet tech that was there to help was crying. And the vet was okay, but like she does it all the time, I'm sure. And she's super nice, and and then there was the whole awkward, alright, well, thanks for, paying for us to come do this. I'll leave you guys alone, and they left. And so we, cried for a few more minutes until everybody kind of got it out of their systems. And then we had to bury him. My dad didn't want to get him cremated, so he's buried in my backyard. Sean and I, and Tristan, my brother, and maybe my dad too, I don't know, all worked together to dig a hole big enough for him in the backyard. And so to make sure that, no animals try to get at him, we laid him in a tarp and wrapped him up in a tarp, and then we wrapped him up in a blanket, and then we buried him in the backyard. Yeah. 2 dogs in a few months. So I made a video similar, I had a segment similar to this for Jello in my update vlog. I mean, like I said, he was 13 years old. He lived a long life. And now he's not in pain. I just feel bad. I wish there was more we could have done. But he's at peace now. He's not in any pain. And I just have to try to remember him the way he was before he was sick. Because I knew him before he was sick. He was always a lazy dog. But he was friendly and sweet. And when I first moved to Tennessee and my, at the time, boyfriend and I broke up, he was the first dog out of the 3, because at the time they had 3 dogs. There was Harley, Kenzie, and Dixie has since passed as well. She broke her back and had to be put down. Kenzie's still around, but Harley was the first one to come over and come cuddle with me. That made me feel better. And he was the one who we would go for walks, and he would decide 5 minutes in that he didn't want to do it anymore, and he would just lay down and refuse to move, unless we were heading back the way we had come. And he would do this weird thing where he would just come sit over next to you, and if you had a limb, like an arm or a leg or something within reach, he would lick you. 1 lick. Just, that was it. And sometimes his tongue would get stuck. So he would lick and sit there with his tongue just on you. Not moving. Just his tongue sitting on you. That was the weirdest thing. But, he was never the lively and crazy dog. He was, even when he was a puppy, I've been told, because I didn't know him when he was a puppy, but I've been told that he was a couch potato. He was lazy. So once again, we're down to 2 dogs and 1 cat. We've kind of talked a little bit about trying to help out by, doing foster care for animals or adopting another older dog to take care of them and give them a good little bit of their life, but I don't know if I can handle that. The foster care maybe, but adopting another old dog, knowing that they may go any day, I don't know if my heart can take that. So we'll see, but I just wanted to make this video so you guys could get to know Harley a little bit. And I kind of did it backwards. I kind of jumped in with the bad stuff, and then I'm finishing off with the not so bad stuff. But I almost didn't make this video, but I had mentioned him in a couple other videos, so I figured it was only right for me to let you guys know that he is no longer with us. And I actually have a rock that I've painted. It's just a big, triangular rock that stands up on its own, and I went ahead and I painted it gold, because I had gold spray paint. I painted it gold, and then I need to look for my paints, or some permanent markers, and I'm going to write his name on it, and use that as a temporary headstone until we can get him something a little more flashy. And then we let my dad have his collar. We bought him a collar and a tag with his name on it. And we gave that to my dad so that he had something to remember him by. Yeah. And that last day we just tried to take lots of pictures of him because he didn't look bad. When he was just laying down, like, he didn't look bad at all. Like, he looked old, but he didn't look bad. So we took as many pictures as I could handle, and I tried to spoil him, but he wouldn't take any of it. So the day before, I'm glad we did it, but we were going to do the last day was going to be his best day. We were going to get him all kinds of goodies and just spoil him rotten, but he wouldn't eat anything. But the day before, we'd bought him some chicken nuggets, and we gave him some chicken nuggets, and he had a hot dog with dinner, and so I'm glad we did it that day, because that was literally the hot dog that I gave him that night was the last thing he ate, because he didn't eat anything the day of his passing. So I'm glad that we did it the day before. So thank you guys for watching. It's not really a very fun video, but life's not always fun. And like I've always said, I strive to be kind of a relatable channel in terms of what I go through and trying to share that with you guys. And animals are a big part of my life. And yeah, so I'm not going to do my usual outro because I really don't feel like I should tell you guys to like this video. But, subscribe for more better, nicer, happier content. And as always, make today magical. Bye.